I have a feeling that every single person sort of has this ideal that they're reaching toward. We always have this person we put up, you know, whether it be somebody we've seen walking down the street where you go, I'd like to be like that person. It's almost always about the way they look. It's rarely, for a woman at least, about the way they act, their business savvy, any of those things. We have such a tendency to try to recreate ourselves, which we're always trying to do, I think, as human beings. But is there damage in that, in finding somebody and going, ooh, I'd really like to look like that person?
Well, I guess my gut instinct would be going back to the things that we talked about even in the last webinar we did, which is if you want to create lasting, realistic, meaningful change, it's got to be value driven, right? Otherwise, there's no stickiness to it. So I think the thing about putting somebody up as an ideal is it's, you know, sometimes it might be that. It might be their athletic prowess, or it might be that you just think they're really, you know, beautiful or good looking. And I think if you stop there, then you put yourself in danger because you're always trying to be somebody else. But if you get a little bit deeper and figure out who that person is, or you maybe look at somebody who's truly athletic, you know, we can look from the outside and go, oh my gosh, they're just gifted and they're talented, and I wish I would have been born with those genes, and you know. But if you investigate a little further, there's a whole heck of a lot of hard work, and there would be a whole lot going on that you would be more valuable to want to emulate. Like I would like to emulate somebody's work ethic or their dedication or something like that, because that would have some lasting value for me. And I think when it's just that externally driven thing, it's, you know, it's when does it stop? Right. But it's interesting because when you were talking, I was thinking about a book that I've read and I've given to several people called Reviving Ophelia. Mm-hmm. And the author's name is Mary Pfeiffer, I can't quite remember. But one of the things she talks about a lot in there is just watching young women, and as they're growing up, and the way we speak to them, even as adults. So girls almost often greet each other, and even as adults, we often greet a girl with, oh, you look so cute, or I love your outfit, or oh, you changed your hair, it's so darling. If you watch guys greet each other, they talk about what they've been doing. What you been up to? Oh yeah, you know, did you get that raise you were talking about, or how's that new job going? So it's really interesting because ever since I read that book, I've been really aware of talking to my female clients like that. So when someone comes in and I can see that maybe I haven't seen them in a while, and I can see that they've lost weight. Last thing I'm going to do is say, oh, have you lost weight? You look great. Because in a way it insinuates they didn't look great before.
So I think a lot of what Beth's talking about there is that we know that there are really, I mean, self-esteem, the way we usually look at self-esteem is the way we think other people rate us. So it's really a not social comparative, but it's socially referenced. It's like, what do other people think about me? And that really sort of has a huge impact on what I think about myself. And what we know is that there are really two types of self-esteem. I mean, there's a real self-esteem, which is really speaks to Beth's idea of values and finding intrinsic or internal reasons why you do things that are really real about you, and things you have control over, and things that you can affect change in. And then there's the other type of self-esteem, which is contingent self-esteem. So people like me, people respect me, people value me, but it's contingent on something. It's contingent on, obviously the conversation we're having today is what I look like. So if my appearance is great, people are going to really like me, and they're going to value me, and they're going to want to interact with me. So I mean, you see this all the time. I mean, there are many examples where this is clearly a motivator and a driver in terms of the behaviors that people are engaging in. I mean, you joked yesterday when we were talking about plastic surgery. I mean, you're looking and say, okay, well, what's driving plastic surgery? I mean, what's driving cosmetic surgery? And a lot of what I've read is, it's about self-esteem. But what they're really talking about there is contingent self-esteem, because it really is, maybe that's a little unfair, maybe not all of it, but a lot of it is about contingent self-esteem. It's about, if I change the way I look, other people are going to value me more. And no doubt there are some people who value themselves more because they look better, but it's probably still being driven by that contingency. And I think that that's an important thing to understand. I mean, when you're trying to change your behavior and you're trying to aspire towards a particular lifestyle, you've got to find and connect with something inside of you that makes sense to you, because otherwise you're always going to fail. At some point, you're going to fail because it is not perpetual. You can't keep doing it.
Right.
At some point, you're going to fail. And then it's going to be devastating. If you fall down, which is a natural part of change, but you're doing this for real reasons, you'll be able to get back up again. I think that that's a really important point.
Right. Because if it's just based on sheer looks alone, I mean, it's, you know, one season it's great to be blonde and tall, and then when you do next season, when all of a sudden everyone's
still short and dark.
and there you go.
You're struggling, yeah.
Well, and you said it best. It was a phenomenal moment for me. You said people will come in and say, you know, I want your body, or, you know, when I have a flat butt, then.
Right, right. I mean, I guess now I think about it, I deal with that more than I really think, because people will come to me and ask all the time, like, you know, what can I do to get rid of this flabby butt? And then 2 seconds later, somebody comes up and they say, God, what can I do to get a bigger butt? And I've come to realize it's really not their butt they're talking about. It's really getting comfortable in their own skin. Like, Beth, what can I do to get comfy in my own skin? Right? I think that's really, really what the issue is. And so a lot of times I'll just ask people, like, you know what? Like, I can give you some exercises that'll lift your butt up if that's what you want, but can you tell me why you want your butt to be bigger? And then usually there ends up being a little bit of a conversation of, you know, I'm just always, you know, trying to do this or that, the other, and it can often segue into a nice conversation about, yeah, like, I get it, like, I get wanting to affect external change, right? At the same time, I want people to be able to realize that, yeah, maybe it's not that important. And if they want to be able to hike on the weekend with their kids in a pack without getting sore, I'm all behind that, right? So I always try to shift the conversation to, like, really, what's going to change in your life if that changes? I mean, what's going to change in your life when you get the bigger this or the smaller that or the curlier hair, right? And then I think it's good. I think it gives people pause. And then sometimes they might go, you know, I get it. Nothing's going to change, but I've just always really wanted curly hair. Go get yourself some curly hair. I'm cool with that. But just have some awareness of you know, what's driving you.